Hello everyone, my name is Paul Third and I bet all of yous are hoping that I'm going to tell you all about my NAMM experience. No. Sorry, but it's just something that, it was very private to me. I had a great time, but it was more about the people. Yeah, I just met lots and lots of great people, and that was kind of more what I took away from it, which kind of means nothing to you guys. But yeah, if you are considering to go to NAMM, think more about the people you could meet rather than just like looking at products. That's all I'm going to say. However, if there's one thing that I definitely took away from the whole NAMM experience, it was how much Atmos was being pushed everywhere you looked. Atmos. No, it wasn't a 90s rave. I don't know why I just did that. But yeah, everywhere you kind of looked, there was something to do with Atmos. And I'm going to give you my opinion on Atmos. And if you stick around to the very end of the video, you'll be very surprised, very surprised at my kind of future plans for this channel. Now, the great thing about NAMM and being in LA was that I was able to listen to Atmos in various kind of different setups. First off, I was at Apogee Studios. Jonathan Morrison, who has like a really massive tech channel, he's kind of moved more into mixing and mastering now. Now, he's got his own Genelec room in Apogee Studios. So he invited me and Ed down. I think it was like our second night in LA. And I have to say, the very first time I listened to Atmos, I was a little bit underwhelmed. I think in my head I expected this kind of huge immersive experience where it genuinely was completely immersive. What I learned was that when you do Atmos in a way where everything's swimming, right? It's just, everything is just like automated and everything's panned here and panned there and it's super creative. You can get bored extremely quickly. And that's what I found. That was like, yeah, I was like, okay, this is immersive. And then after like the first minute or two, I was like, right, okay, this is immersive, right, everything's swimming, and my ears became adjusted to it, and I kind of lost the kind of the immersive feel, just the way our brains work. We get adjusted to things very quickly. Now, the interesting thing was that there was a little studio to the side of Jonathan's Genelec room, and it was a IK Multimedia iLoud setup. Now, what was interesting about that was that I got the exact same experience in regards to the Genelec room, and it was a smaller room, and I was like, yep, same experience. It's just that the Genelecs sounded a little bit better, there was a little bit more detail, but this sub was just huge. I've never heard a sub in a room as big as that, and I think that kind of distracted me more. I think I was listening more to the sub than the immersive stuff. But it was interesting to me how there was a difference, but the immersive side of it stayed the same. I felt that the panning was kind of relatively similar, and it was just tonally a little bit different. But the iLoud setup did still sound pretty good. At that point, I was like, nah, freaking Atmos, a lot of bollocks. a lot of bollocks. And it wasn't until I sat behind Jonathan watching him mix in Atmos and hearing the individual elements being panned and placed. And for me, this is where Atmos started to make a little bit more sense, because I could make sense of the decisions that he was making. I could hear his panning more. I could hear, his automation more. And it was just, he just basically took a mix and was just like, right, let's just, instead of making everything swim, let's just try placement. And when I could hear the placement, I was like, okay, that's there. So it's basically what you've got in Atmos is kind of an already mixed and processed stems. So at the same time, where I'm like, you don't really need to worry as much about frequency clashing. You can just be like, right, that's kind of getting in the way. I'll place it to that speaker. There is still a benefit if you're just purely an Atmos mixer, where if you're just doing the Atmos, then most likely you've already got an awesome sounding mix. And that's when I was like, okay, so if you had an Atmos setup and you're not doing the stereo mix, it's quite an easy job. I mean, obviously, you've still got to learn it, and that's where it kind of gets me to the next part of Atmos. So, at NAMM, Neumann had a seminar with Andrew Sheps, and so they had like a huge Atmos setup. It was too big, but because it was a seminar, they had to do it that way. Nobody would have an Atmos setup that wide and that kind of fucking... It was just massive, right? So, what was interesting with Andrew was that when he was talking about Atmos, he was talking about how he started off wanting to make everything swim and really kind of feel the immersive. The whole point of Atmos that everybody thought was like, it's immersive, let's get creative with it. But what he found, and again, it was great because he had audio examples, was that even though Atmos is immersive, you've still got to have the front side of the mix as your priority. And what I mean by that is that whilst it's great having all these speakers, it's very easy to lose the song. And in regards to like the way that we listen to music, we always kind of take priority from what's in front of us. So in every mix that he did, the front speakers were always the ones that kind of were doing the heavy lifting. And then it was more about taste. And instead of kind of making everything swim, it was more about, right, okay, let's place this here, let's place that there. And then in certain bits, it might just be one or two instruments, right, a little bit of automation, a little bit of movement. And it was sparse, and it was all about the song and not losing the song. And it did sound great, and it was a little bit still strange because it was such a wide, big Atmos setup that they had. But listening to him talk about, again, it's still important to get a solid stereo mix and then again export the stems, then put that into Atmos, and kind of talking about how it needs to be delivered at -18, and then that kind of obviously has an impact on the loudness wars because, again, your mix doesn't need to be so heavily limited. It probably doesn't need to be limited at all. I was like, right, okay. So we've kind of got this thing now where we're still thinking about the song and we're just kind of using these kind of speakers just to kind of get things out of the way and just trying to subtly enhance the song. Obviously, in certain tracks, you could go mental and daft with it, but listening to Andrew kind of made me think, right, okay, I can see the mindset of the Atmos mixers. And then, right at the end of the trip, when NAMM was over, we went to Just for the Record Studios. And trust me, you have never seen a more aesthetically pleasing studio. It's the cleanest studio I've ever been in. Like, honestly, you'd struggle to find a speck of dust in that place. And those PMC speakers, honestly, if I was personally to pick speakers, it would be those PMC speakers. And every room is kind of basically made to be the same, with the same gear in it, which again is very sparse. And honestly, I can't describe to you how great it was to be in a studio that psychologically are on top, aesthetically are on top, and sound-wise are just like, oh. And then from there, Matt took us into the Atmos room, which again was PMC. The entire studio was PMC. And that was hands down the best way to listen to Atmos. Even the fact that, again, psychologically, right, the studio owner is so clever. And he made it in a way where the side speakers and the back speakers, the rear speakers, are invisible. They're basically just like there's cloth in front of them. So all you see is the front speakers. So you get the immersive feel without kind of having the visual clutter of the speakers, which again is something that I noticed even in every other room I went in. You can't not miss the speakers. And I just thought it was very, very, very clever, and it really, really, really worked. And it was great listening to some of Matt's mixes and some other Atmos mixes. And he basically took on from where Andrew was and kind of reiterated a lot of what Andrew was talking about, but again was talking more about Atmos being used as a way to further translate the emotion of a song. And honestly, like, when you're in that room, you're like, yes, this is now Atmos. This is detailed, right? There's that there, there's that there. And you start to feel a little bit more like you're in the middle of something. And it sounded awesome. And whilst it does sound great, this is kind of where my opinion starts to come in on Atmos, is that it doesn't translate to headphones yet. I've listened to the Apple headphones. I have been in a room like listening to Atmos and being like, right, okay, this is the speakers, one, right, okay, let's listen to the headphones. No, it doesn't translate. They're nowhere close. All they kind of got to the point, in my opinion, with real phones from D-Sonic, that they've been able to kind of replicate two speakers in a room and headphones. How they're going to do that with immersive, with all those speakers, I have no idea they're going to do it. I was kind of thinking of ways myself where it's like, do you kind of have like a hexagon kind of shaped, kind of you had like headphones like that, and it was like half a hexagon and half a hexagon, and each side was a speaker, and then you were to use like HRTF and then like crosstalk algorithms to like try and emulate it. I don't know. I'm very, very, very skeptical about headphones. And unfortunately, for as much as people are investing heavily in it, if it does not translate to headphones in the future, it's going to fall off the wagon. Because our end consumer isn't going to be able to hear the decisions that we've made. Atmos home setups, is it going to be a thing in the future? Very, very much doubt it. Because here's the thing, are they going to pay $3 or $4 grand for a setup? They're not. It's just not going to happen. So in regards to the future of Atmos, for me, it hangs solely on how it translates to headphones and earbuds, because that is what our end consumer is listening on. Nobody's listening to speakers anymore, right? They're listening on phones, they're listening on buds. So that needs to translate. How you do it in earbuds, fuck, don't even get me started on it. However, having said that, I've been told, and I can't say too much, but I've been told by certain people that, like in 6 months to a year, supposedly, that there is going to be better technology in the phones to kind of recreate immersive. So everybody will be like, right, you've kind of waffled about Atmos now, Paul. What is it that, like, you've got to tell us? Now, can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm away to go Atmos. I have, I know. So I've decided to build a studio, and I'll be moving out this bedroom, and there is a place just around the corner from me, and I'm speaking about it tomorrow. We're going to kind of see kind of dimensions and stuff and prices. How does that coincide with Atmos? Purely business, right? Purely business, because I know that there isn't many Atmos mixers in Scotland, and I know that artists are starting to ask for it because Apple Music are asking for it. More people are asking for it. Labels are asking for it. And I'm just like, right, as much as I don't really want to do it, I'm like, it is fun to mix in Atmos. And I do think I could be quite good at it, because I'm quite a creative person, and I like I'm a creative panner, and I'm like, this could maybe work for me. But, you know, if I'm going to take this career seriously and be a mix engineer, there's a door that's kind of open for me, I feel. And I feel that if I'm not first, I'm last. And I'm like, right, this might go nowhere. However, if it goes nowhere, I could just sell the speakers. You know, that's the good thing about Atmos, is that you will always be able to sell the speakers. And yes, it's going to be quite a costly investment. However, I'm going to use YouTube to my benefit. There's already a few manufacturers I'm speaking to about the monitors, and in terms of acoustical treatment, again, there's another manufacturer that I'm pretty sure will work together, and we'll do a few sponsored videos and stuff. And I'm also going to invest in a proper acoustician as well. When I say I want to do this properly, I'm Paul Third. When I do stuff, I want to do it right. And whatever that room needs is, you know, what I'm going to have to pay for. But yeah, there you go, right? That's kind of my kind of generalised opinions on Atmos from what I can see so far. I'm going to have a better opinion on it when the studio is finished and I get all the speakers up and it's set up the way that it needs to be set up. So there's a little bit of an opportunity for me, and if I could learn Atmos and I could nail it, and I could, you know, do stereo and Atmos, you know, and still keep on doing what I'm doing and trying to get like as good as I can in stereo, then again, I might be actually able to make a full-time career out of this thing, which is what this channel is all about. So there you go. I know, pretty shocking news, eh? But very, 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 very early days. So yes, NAMM was a blast. I met tons of great people, and yes, there you have it. Paul Third going Atmos, eh? Who would have thunk it? My name's Paul Third, and I'll see you again next week.